Greetings, friends. This is Dr. Richard Marcs, and welcome to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, a reading of my unpublished novel, In Chapters. I hope you'll enjoy it. Chapter 6, Then, Manifest Destiny. It's 1963 and I'm a 15-year-old murderer, alone in the world learning to survive. My paranoia about Kraus kept me moving around, initially south. I had heard that there's always work on fishing boats in the Gulf. I walked along Highway 271, hitching when I could thumb a ride. 2 days after the deed, I had just crossed the Texas border and was just north of a town called Hinckley in Texas when I noticed that the telephone lines on either side of the highway were packed with crows, just sitting on the wires. There must have been hundreds of them. Gabby and I had seen that movie, The Birds, earlier in the year, and I'll admit, it was creeping me out. I ducked into the only building I had seen that day, a small service station, to escape from the birds. As I entered, the man behind the counter was looking through the window at the mass gathering of crows. As if wanting to avoid our gawking, all of them flew off. "That was quite a murder," the man behind the counter said, throwing me into a panic. "How do you know that?" I blurted out, preparing to run. "That's what it's called, a murder of crows, like a pride of lions or a pod of whales," the overly knowledgeable grease monkey informed. I was almost certain I had wet my pants, but I didn't want to look down to see. "What can I do for you? You're sweating just like a hog on the last day of the country fair." "Just a pop, please," I was able to get out of my mouth. "It's because of crooks," the genius informed me. "What is?" "The crows. They nest around Lake Crooks. That's why there's so many of them. Always are this time of year." "Oh, I saw that movie, The Birds. That's why I was all hinky when I came in here," I lied. "Yep, you were white as a sheet. Are you hoofing it? Where are you headed?" Heck, he sure asked a lot of questions for a freaking gas station attendant. "Sorry, I don't get to talk to many folks out here." "That's okay. I'm headed to Dallas." The lies were flowing out of me like wine now, but heck, he didn't need to know my business. "Going to see Kennedy, the commie-in-chief?" "Not really. I didn't know he was going to be there," I truthfully told him as I headed for the door. "I voted for Nixon. I'd sooner die than vote for the Pope." As I got through the door, I laughed to myself. I didn't even know the Pope was running. I lived in a town called West Wego while working as a shrimper in Louisiana that year, but took the town's advice and headed out west. I worked in a gas station in Texas, not even a Texaco, but an Esso. Worked on a farm in New Mexico where I learned to speak Spanish. Well, un poquito. I put my limited Spanish to good use when I worked as a peach picker, doing the jobs Americans wouldn't do in Arizona. I worked on a farm with 2 crops, peaches and corn. There I met a sweet girl named Loretta Martinez. Her family were seasonal agricultural workers from some tiny town in Mexico. She was a lovely girl, about my age, with skin the color of a perfect cup of coffee with cream and sugar. Looking back, she had the kind of face that one would see on a can of refried beans or a bag of tortilla chips. Our romance started with a moment's glance, followed a few days later with a shy smile. We spent time holding hands while mangling each other's mother tongues until the day we finally made love. I acquired more than a taste for peaches on that job, but I admit, as lovely as Loretta was, all I could think about was the girl 900 miles away. Eventually, as the picking season died in mid-September, Loretta's family moved to Mexico, and I kept on keeping on. After 2 years working my way across 1,500 miles of kitty litter, the eyesore that is the western United States, I wound up working as a dishwasher at the Seabird restaurant in Oceanside, California. I felt like a beach boy. When I wasn't working, I was hanging out on the beach, surfing, swimming, fucking girls in bikinis. It was idyllic. I was going by the name Joe Niemann and had a birth certificate, California's driver's license, and a social security card. Too easy. All that was about to change when I met the most important man in my life, the man I consider to be my true father. It was Christmas Day, 1965, and I was sitting in Wang's Chinese having my Christmas dinner. Things that seem so great in the summer can be things that suck in a beach town in winter, and I was down, sitting there alone on Christmas Day no less, wondering for the millionth time what was the deal with my parents, and then realizing I didn't really give a shit, when a man, obviously military, walked into the restaurant. Wang started moving around, seemingly agitated. "Mr. Sarge, your order home already. 36 Chinese libs, yes?" "Yeah, Wang, I'm mighty hungry," he said, rubbing his stomach. He laughed and winked at me. "Dining alone on Christmas, son?" "Yup." "Yup, huh?" Someone was out of the room when manners were being passed out, and obviously isn't connected to Pendleton or serving his country. Why was this guy in my face? Can't I even eat in peace? "Come on, Wang, get him his ribs and get him out of here." Then I turned to G.I. Joe. "What's this country ever done for me?" I asked. "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Do you know who said that?" he questioned. "Sure I know, but maybe I don't want my brains splattered all over a shithole city like Dallas." He actually looked human for a second and said almost to himself, "Dallas sure is a shithole." Then snapping out of his momentary ennui, he turned his attention to me. "How old are you, son, and why are you eating Chinese alone for Christmas?" "Please leave me alone." I just wanted to be depressed in peace. "No one should ever be alone on Christmas, son. How would you like to have dinner with my family?" "I'm not your son, and I'm eating my Christmas dinner now." Wang came back from the kitchen. "Mr. Sarge, I give you 48 libs extra for you joyous Christmas." "Thanks, Wang. I just invited this young fellow to Christmas dinner with my family." Wang turned to me. "You go with Sarge. He good man. He important man." "Wang, I just got my food. I'm eating." Wang glanced at Sarge. Then he grabbed my plate. "We crows. No charge." Sarge laughed. "I guess you're free for dinner." "Fuck off." Faster than a hummingbird's wings, Sarge grabbed my dinner knife off the table and with one hand twisted it around my left wrist like a bracelet. To this day, I can't imagine the strength required to do this. "Now, I don't give a flying fuck if you accept my gracious holiday invitation or if you starve, but you will not speak to me in that manner. Am I understood?" Then I said it, and my fate was blissfully sealed. "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir," I repeated. "What's your handle, son?" "My what?" I was confused. "Your name, boy." "Joseph, sir," I revealed. "Okay, like McCarthy, Kennedy, or Arimathea. Fine, let's go get dinner. I hope you like Chinese-style ribs." And he let out a laugh that even now I have a hard time putting into words. It was a laugh that betrayed a joy at having lived through the things he had seen, and all the things he had probably done. It was a laugh that said, "Fuck you, world. I'm still here." His car was a black 1958 Mercedes-Benz 220S convertible. "I brought this over from Germany," he said as if he knew what I was thinking. "Here, it's cold. You be the captain." And he reached in the back seat and handed me a white hat with a gold eagle and swastika on it. That's a U-boat captain's visor cap. Only the captain wore a white visor cap. "Are you a Nazi?" I asked him seriously, adjusting the cap at just the right jaunty angle. He just laughed. "Me a Nazi? You're the one wearing the Nazi cap." We drove through the guard towers at the Pendleton Marine Base. All the Marines saluted as we drove past. "Son, you're in uniform. You have to salute back." I did my decidedly unregulation salute and realized I still had the knife bracelet on my wrist. "Wrong hand and the wrong salute. You gotta give 'em the good old Sieg Heil." He let out a laugh again, and I realized that not only was he having a ton of fun at my expense, but also that in the last 20 minutes since I met this man, I heard more laughter than I had in the past 2 years. I also realized that no one had ever invited me into their home. No one had ever offered to feed me. I started thinking, what's the catch? What does he want from me? We pulled up to a 2-story house, and 2 guys about my age ran out the front door. "Do you need any help, Sarge? Who's the Nazi?" I tore off the hat and tossed it into the car. "It's his hat." Sarge fixed his eyes on me. He wasn't laughing now. "First, it's a visor cap, not a hat. And second, you don't toss it. It's a military uniform and thus deserving of our respect. Those of us who are willing to give our lives for our country belong to a brotherhood, no matter what side we were fighting on and dying for. Understood? Now let's see how dinner is coming. Turkey with all the fixings, as well as this really spicy dish called curry, and little squiggly Chinese ravioli type things. Food I've never seen. It was all delicious, but in a where am I must be dreaming sort of way. Life, my life, has taught me to be always cynical about any kindness. I was waiting for the other shoe to fall. After dinner, and when I say we, it was 5 other boys, all my age or maybe a little bit older, sat in a living room around a beautiful Christmas tree. They talked about things I didn't really have any idea about. Rock music, England versus America, football, movies, actresses, but also the number of U.S. troops sent to Vietnam, whether Operation Rolling Thunder made military sense. I had no idea what that was. The Battle of La Drang and who won. President Johnson's halt to the bombing. The Watts riots, the assassination of Malcolm X. The 2 spacewalks and the Gemini program in general. Sarge asked the cadets if they had finished Heinrich Böll's The Clown. All of them had, but he said since tomorrow was Sunday, he said they would discuss it after Mass. Isn't that the very definition of irony, discussing The Clown after Catholic Mass? They all laughed. I had no idea why. Shit, I thought to myself, more religious freaks, just like the Krauses. But I was still amazed. I'd never heard anyone talk about so many different things, especially boys my age. The cadets all addressed each other as brother or bro. Brother Miles asked Sarge how they should address me. Call him Joseph. Joseph, would you mind answering a few questions? I nodded, then caught myself. No, sir. Cadets, feel free to interrogate Joseph, Sarge said with a chuckle. For the next hour I answered questions about everything. Most I didn't have answers for, but I didn't feel any judgment when I responded, I don't know. After about an hour, Sarge said, That's enough, cadets. It's Christmas after all. Let's have dessert. Alan, who seemed to be nominally in charge of the cadets, said, We have a gift for you, Sarge. And 2 of the brothers brought out a beautiful chocolate cake with cream and cherries. Ah, a Black Forest tort, my favorite. Thank you, cadets. We had cake and cookies with hot chocolate and coffee. There's something more, Sarge. And a long wrapped gift was taken out from behind the tree. Sarge unwrapped it to reveal a sword. Gentlemen, I am truly touched. Joseph, do you know what this is? This I knew. It's a sword, sir, I answered. Indeed it is, but it's so much more than that. This is a Civil War Confederate field officer's sword, but you see this U.S. on the guard? If you look, the original CS has been removed and a swordsmith has added U.S. This sword was captured. Look here on the ricasso, CSA stamped over with USA. If this edged weapon could only talk, what a story it could tell. Brother fighting against brother to preserve our nation and to preserve the dignity of all America. Again, thank you, gentlemen. But this is ironic. There are gifts for each of you under the tree. Joseph, please forgive me, but I wasn't expecting to make your acquaintance today, and I don't have anything for you. Oh, let's see, wait a moment. He ran upstairs and was down in a couple minutes. He came downstairs and handed me an old knife. This is a 1953 Imperial Garand bayonet that I got in Korea. I hope you aren't squeamish about such things. My intuition tells me you're not. That blade sent more than a few commie bastards to the same hell that contains their beloved Marcs and Lenin. Wow. Thank you, sir. I can't remember getting a real Christmas gift before. Thank you. Joseph, would you like to attend Mass with us tomorrow? The cadets all made sounds like they would be thrilled if I attended. I don't mean to sound appreciative because this has been the best Christmas I've ever had, but I'm not at all religious. Sarge laughed, and some of the cadets chuckled. Son, nor are we. We attend Roman Catholic Mass every Sunday to help improve our Latin and to revel in the traditions and history of the Church. The Roman Catholic Church is the oldest institution in the history of man. Many people believe it began when Jesus of Nazareth said to his apostle Peter, And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. We can certainly trace it to the year 590 A.D., when Pope Gregory consolidated the papal lands. Imagine that. We have another 11 years, and the good old US of A will celebrate 200 years. The church is almost 2,000 years old. But I think I speak for all of us. Well, all of us except Cadet Thomas, when I say we are agnostics who follow no dogma except a love for our country and its Constitution. And son, unlike you, none of us are wearing a religious medal. It was a gift from a friend. But I don't even believe in God, I replied. You don't believe in God, Sarge replied, but the important thing is, does he believe in you? He said, laughing again. Now, cadets, let's get those gifts opened. Each cadet unwrapped their gifts, more knives, but they seemed thrilled. Cadet Richard, as our weapons expert, can you explain for our guest benefit what those are? Yes, sir. These are Fairborn Sykes fighting knives, first produced in January 1941 by Wilkinson Sword and famously issued to British commandos for the D-Day landings. The knife is also issued to U.S. Army Rangers as well as other units around the world. Thank you, Richard. Anyone up for a Christmas knife fight? They all jumped up, and I realized it was probably time for me to go. Miles and Allen, go! And at that, they both tried to kill each other. It was fucking insane. It was like a sword fight, but with knives. The sound of metal, the sparks, the speed of their stabs looked like a blur. I expected to see blood any second, as it was plainly clear this was serious. After a few moments, Sarge said, Well done, cadets. I'm going to say Miles was our Christmas winner. Good job, Miles, the cadets all said, as the two immediately stopped trying to kill each other and started laughing while the other cadets clapped. I must have been white as a sheet, because Sarge looked at me and said, Dying is easy. Killing is much harder. But I suspect you know that, Brother Joseph. I don't know why. Maybe it was my surprise at being addressed as Brother Joseph. But I let slip the secret I had been keeping for 3 years. Really? I don't find killing difficult at all. I don't know what surprised me more, the wide-eyed look of the cadets or Sarge's knowing smile. As the evening wore on, Sarge said to me, Son, let's have a little talk. I expected that we would go to another room. But no, right there in the middle of the Christmas celebrations, he said to me, Are you interested in a military career? Sir, it's not something I've ever thought of. Besides, things seem to be ugly over in Vietnam, and that's not a situation I'm interested in getting involved with. Now I can understand that completely, he said. It's my opinion that the political and tactical situation there prevent our troops from doing what they need to do to win. It was the same in Korea. However, much as I did in Korea, I've been asked to put together a special operations group to fly a bit under the radar, so to speak. The other boys chuckled amongst themselves, all except for Brother Thomas. Permission to speak freely, sir? Among us, there is never a need to ask, Thomas, Sarge replied. No disrespect to you, Sarge, or to Joseph, but we've only known him for a few hours. How is he cleared to hear anything about us? That's an excellent question, Cadet. As Sarge was speaking, he grabbed one of the knives and threw it at me. It hit me dead in the chest. I was startled and bleeding. Not much, but it hurt. What the hell? I shouted, but I didn't get up. I picked up the knife, wiped the small amount of blood off the blade. Hand that over to me, please, Sarge said. Okay, but please don't throw it at me again. I won't. As soon as I handed it to him, he threw it at Miles' face. Miles caught the knife by the handle with the tip of the blade almost touching his nose. It was insane. Brother Thomas, I understand your concern, but as you know, I have a good intuition about these things. However, I understand this conversation puts a great deal of trust in Joseph. Shall we see if he puts the same level of trust in us? Well, Joseph, can we trust you never to betray the trust we've shown you? I don't know. You just threw a knife at me. I think I'd better leave. Thank you for an interesting evening. Merry Christmas. Okay, son. I can drive you home or to Wang's, whichever you prefer. Wang's is fine. I can walk from there. I didn't want this knife-throwing maniac to see the shithole place I lived. Son, before you leave, may I ask you a question? Have you ever killed a man? I was stunned. I had gotten up to leave and was halfway to the door, but now felt frozen. Our unit is being trained to carry out assassinations in Vietnam, targets that are prudent to eliminate for tactical reasons, but can't be publicly eliminated for political reasons. That's it. I've endangered our mission by putting our full trust in you a mere, 4 hours after meeting you." I shuffled back in my chair. It was to prevent a rape," I slowly stammered. Everyone was silent as I told my story. The unburdening was cathartic. When I finished, Sarge stood up. "You protected the honor of a lady and neutralized a rapist and a pedophile. We are honored by your presence." After the life I've led, even at age 17, I felt I had a pretty good bullshit detector, and all I could feel was respect and friendship. We talked into the night. The following day, I was back at Sarge's for Sunday leftovers, and to watch the very first football game I had ever seen. I wasn't impressed. The Baltimore Colts were completely dominating the Green Bay Packers, and even though it was only halfway over, it didn't look like that was going to change. Sarge had an almost religious reverence for football. It was as sacred to him as having his troops together for Sunday dinner. At the halfway break in the game, Sarge asked me, "Do you want to go now, or do you want to watch the end of the game? You're more than welcome to stay. It doesn't look like it now, but I would never count a Vince Lombardi-coached team out. Football is analogous to warfare," Sarge pontificated. "It involves taking the enemy's territory and attacking them with a balanced assault from land and air. Lombardi would have made a great general. Right now he's preaching improvise, adapt, and overcome to his troops. It's no coincidence that one of his first coaching positions was at the point." I decided to stay, more for a leftover piece of Black Forest torte from yesterday than the football. As Sarge predicted, the Packers came back and won the game in overtime. I started thinking, who is this man, this stranger who had reached a hand down to me while I was in the shithole of my pathetic life, who had dropped me in the middle of 5 guys who instantly became like brothers? A man who seemed to know religion, philosophy, and, of all things, football. I made 2 decisions as we sat around discussing the game. One, I would become a football fan, and, much more importantly, I had decided to serve my country. I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps on Monday, December 27th, 1965, phony documents and all. 12 months later, 3 for boot camp and 9 for MAR SOC, Marine Corps Special Forces Training, at Camp Lejeune in South Carolina. For some reason, wink wink, I was able to skip the mandatory 3 years of service required for Special Forces training. I was a United States Marine. During my boot camp training, I also learned Latin, Chinese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and French, and many things from ballroom dancing to advanced sniper training to use of a garrote. It was a very Catholic education. My MARSOC graduation was attended by 3 of my brothers and Sarge. I felt like I was part of a family for the first time in my life. Truth be told, it felt great. The day after my MARSOC graduation, I was honorably discharged from the United States Marine Corps and given a retirement package for 20 years of service. That was the good news. The day after that, I was on my way to Saigon. Some would say that was the bad news. Thank you for listening to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, copyright 2025, as read by me, the author, Dr. Richard Marcs. A new chapter will be posted each week. A Murder Most Foul is produced and recorded at Batavia Studios in Jakarta. This podcast and A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman are solely works of fiction, and any similarities to persons living or dead are merely coincidental. The music used in this podcast is the second movement of Franz Schubert's Piano Trio in E-flat, Opus 100. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to email me at drrichardmarcs@gmail.com. That's drrichardmarcs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please like and subscribe to the podcast and tell a friend. Thank you, and until next week, be more than you seem.